Ashville, but in Coal Planet, it's legitimately not fucking doable. It's so far back. What the fuck are you gonna do about the gun?
I think we should just ban engineer.
That's a possibility. Have you ever heard of
Engineer is not a real class.
Okay, buddy.
Bruh,
Let's tone down the
engineer's a
racism.
power class. Shut up.
Let's tone down the racism. All right. Let's get this started.
You can't be racist towards white people. It's not even possible.
That's okay.
You're gonna miss that Boston Basher one day, and you're just gonna bleed yourself out while explaining your the map.
Well, yes, but also I have.
Got his ass. It happened.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Ashville. So I really like Ashville. There's the one thing I'm going to talk about Ashville in particular is that there's actually a few unique particular setups and holds that you can do in Ashville. If any of you guys are first timers to my map reviews, some of you will know that some of you who've been here for a while will know that I hate product with a passion in terms of like design. I have fun on it, but I think it's a brain dead fucking map that teaches a lot of people how to play Koth really wrong, because it just ends up being a pure spam fight with no attack strategies and whatnot, and it's just fucking brain dead as shit. But if you ever play any other map, even Lakeside, which people dislike more than products, Lakeside still actually has different holds and different push strategies, and there's actually a bunch of different things you can do, even if it's kind of it's kind of like pulling your teeth every once in a while on Lakeside. It's still a map that uses your brain. And that's the nice thing about Ashville. It's a good, perfect mix between the two. So you're gonna have to learn how to actually hold things, and you're not gonna want to just like set up in product style and just like, oh, it's pocket. I just sit in pocket. I just bam. No, you can't do that in Ashville. So we're gonna learn a whole bunch of fun stuff today. Welcome to Ashville. Ashville is nice. We're gonna start with a mid fight, go to holds, and then offenses as per usual. So first thing about mid fights on Ashville, the mid fight rule on Ashville is really simple. The team that walks forward across the point first is the team that wins. There isn't really too many different ways to kind of like punish aggression on Ashville. It's more about not letting them get to that point in the first place. So when you arrive on when you're taking this mid fight on Ashville, I recommend most of your team rolls out Shutter. So we'll just say about 6 out of 9 players are going to roll out Shutter, and then assume that the rest of you guys are going to have a different view of it. But yeah, your demo's going to come out over Shutter here. You're going to trade stickies directly across midpoint. All your team should gravitate naturally towards ramp. You don't want to come over towards crates, because if you're sitting over here and they take their ramp and they have half a brain cell, they're going to put a demo man and a soldier just on top of this roof over here, and you guys are not going to have a fun time standing here while they just lay spam on you from this position. So gravitate towards your own ramp. And then from here, you want to take a spam fight across. And again, first team to walk across Ashville mid wins the fight, because you just want to find the space to finally walk out of your ramp and then just walk this way and spam them in this choke point. This will force them to back up to not take damage. And once they're past here, there's a tiny choke point, and you can lock them in, and you just keep the cap time going. It's a pretty simple philosophy. The reality is, even though this is a basic strat in terms of the mid fight, there are so many little things that all the classes can do to make this mid fight work. So you guys should really take advantage of question and answer time after we start talking about the mid fight to really ask questions about your own class and what you can do, because there's a lot of little details here. All right, so let's go back. Let's talk about rollout. Really simple. I don't put it on the wall per se. What am I? Why do I? Oh, I'm on the old whitelist on my local machine. I was wondering where my hats are. So, pretty simple rollout. You're gonna jump from spawn to the door as usual. You're just gonna come over here, like so. So the secret to hitting this rollout consistently is to actually hit the ceiling. The reason being, this way you maximize your forward speed by just pretty much like deading as soon as you can. Just pretend it's a max distance sticky jump, except obviously you're gonna hit the ceiling. But the reason you do that is because you have all the speed you need, and this means all your forward momentum is maintained, and you arrive down here and you're ready. So this is like a really tiny little demo detail, but it's nice and fun. Arrive here, sticky up the mid, trade with the demo, gravitate over here like I mentioned, get a heal, and then walk across. You're a demo man, your job is really simple. You're just going to walk across the point and try to deal damage, yada yada yada. So let's talk about soldier for a second. Where is my loadout? We have no loadout. Okay, rocket jumper, doesn't matter. So as a soldier, you have a couple options. First of all, obviously, you're going to want to whip your heavy across the midpoint. Pretend there's a whip, but you're just going to want to whip your heavy all the way through Shutter. have him come all the way through here, make sure he rolls out with his combo, and then at this point, you have a choice. You can either split up over to bats and play from that position, or you can play over to by ramp and then push their bats. So the distinction between these two is really simple. Bats is a nice, simple, pure, easy wait-and-see approach to the mid-fight. You can sit up over here, play on high ground, spam them down there if they're sitting over there and not really doing much, and then when you see an opportunity like your demo man calling, they're all fucked, they're raped, oh my god, you just fucking roger, and you're in, and you bomb them, and that's kind of it. So it's a really simple wait-and-see approach. It's a good fallback if you don't really know what you're trying to do. Just show up over here and then wait until your demo man makes the call, or anyone on your team does. You can also just kind of jump their roof and play it from this position, and then drop down if you're, you know, feeling a little too pressured. You got a lot of options here. The other option, and this is something best done when you're playing together with your scout, is when you split off over here, you go towards ramp and then jump their bats. If you take this with your scout and you have both of your flank members jump up here, you can aggressively push their bats right off the bat. If you know their sniper sits up here every mid-fight, this is a great option. You just jump on top of them, kill them, and then you own their bats, and you can sit over here and spam them from behind. Or your scout, once he's got the space, your scout can just run, you know, into their shutter, kill them from here, go into the lobby, fuck them up from this position. You know, you guys have a lot of options once you take their bats. But this is just kind of the good way to do this if you know that your flank consistently has a better chance of winning the fight on top of their flank. You guys have, you know, better DM, whatever the fuck, you can just jump over here and clean this all up. So it's a pretty good aggressive option if you know you can take the fight every time. Bada bing, bada boom. This guy. So someone was asking about engineer spots. This is pretty simple. Most of you guys are going to find that engineer just kind of rolls out. You shouldn't be rolling out here. You should be rolling out bats as an engineer. If only for one reason. You just want to drop a... This is a mini sentry. Pretend this is a mini. Just kind of want to drop a mini over on fans or something. You can even drop down and place it on barrels after the fact, but it's just because you're an engineer and you have such poor combat capabilities once you show up out of shutter, this is not a position you want to be in as an engineer, so you want to be careful about this. That said, I've seen some engineers do a certain strat where they roll out shutter, they drop the mini right here, they get it up as quickly as possible, and they just wrangle from this position. So it's kind of a poor man's shutter mini, but, you know, you get the idea. You can literally just have it either on fans there, or kind of passive on bats if you're playing with your flank and trying to, like, hold that position, or you can just drop it right here and try to own the point immediately. So you have all these three options. These are nice. The one thing, I'm not going to tell you guys exactly where you want to put a teleporter, but I can tell you where you don't want to put a teleporter. You do not want to put a teleporter in the funny spot up here. You do not want to put it generally over here on ramp, like behind ramp. This is not a good spot. I'm not even going to explain why. It's just ass. Don't do it. So find some other spots. Some people put it up here on bats over here. Some people put it right here. Some people put it in this corner. Some people actually have it on bats, which is still better than actually on ramp, but, you know, that's a different story, so that's fun. All fun and games. So as a sniper on this rollout, I'm on my piss rifle loadout. On this rollout, you just want to show up, shutter ideally, because this is the best position for you to just show up and start pressuring the point immediately. You just come out over here. You can take the SVS as soon as you show up to mid, basically. You can snipe their medic if they show up out of here, and if it's super passive and no one's peeking you, you can roll out straight to barrels and start taking a good ramp-to-ramp sightline over here. So this is just one of the best ways to immediately exert pressure. If you're not comfortable doing this, bats is still a perfectly legitimate option, but it does mostly open you up to fighting people who are pushing across point, so it's kind of baity, or you're trying to take the snipe against their sniper if you know he goes bats, or their flank is trying to jump across here. This is kind of the only few things that you pressure. So this is one of the reasons I don't really recommend snipers come over to bats, is because if you come over here through shutter instead, you get immediate mid-fight pressure, and you can transition to helping your team push across, because if you own this, your team actually is able to walk across this way. And like I mentioned right at the beginning, the team that walks across mid on Ashville first is the team that wins.
The sniper doesn't push past mid, right?
Push past? What?
A sniper never pushes past mid, right?
That's up to you. If you feel confident just walking all the way up here and owning this, feel free, but generally speaking, you know, it's safer to just hold here and watch that sight line. Finally, one small consideration. This applies to both pyro and heavy. I can't believe I'm still on my funny loadouts and I'm not on my serious ones. Like, how am I supposed to make you take me seriously if this is what I'm wearing? You know, it's just not doable.
Strikes fear in your opponents.
Strikes fear in puppies, that's for sure. So when you're
You
showing
said
up to
no.
mid,
bad.
when you show up to mid as a pyro or as a heavy, the one thing you do have to kind of be careful of the moment you show up, on top of the fact that you can get sniped immediately, obviously, if their sniper's rolling out shutter, is a hyper-aggressive bomb from their soldier, if their soldier's the kind of guy to just jump immediately. So when you show up, like, to just take a quick pass, like, check if their sniper's at shutter, and then look up. This applies both to heavy and pyro. Heavy, you might be more interested in taking the stupid minigun chip across point, but you should turn here and check for this bomb. Pyro especially, you should really do that. One thing I would recommend after that is if you know this is clear, just toss a couple flames this way. You can't see that because my view model's all the way back behind, but just like quickly do that because spies love crossing here. You might catch a couple people. All right, I feel like I've pretty much covered everything. One final thing as a scout. On top of being able to rotate where your soldier needs you in case your soldier wants to do a hyper-aggressive across bats, do not underestimate just playing close to heals next to your demo and just botting the moment he says, their demo took 150. You can just like play right here, get a heal beam, chip, and then the moment their demo's fucked, just be like, yo, how's it going? And then that's it. And yeah. You can also just jump across from here. You know, if your combo's having a bad time and they're like, oh, we can't take the fight, you can just leave them. It's not like you're stuck here. Just go. So, you know, you're flexible. Don't think that you have to commit to one early point or early push. You have a lot of options as to where you want to go. A couple things a lot of invite scouts do is they'll just come out over here, take the heal beam, chip a little bit, and then once they see what they're dealing with, they'll just come up here and heckle from the roof. And then they can play over here. So, yep, that's pretty much the gist of it. Any questions? Mid-fight. Ask every little question to your heart's content.
Where's most of your team gonna be all grouped up once you have the middle point?
Ramp up.
We'll cover that next. Those are holds. Mid-fight first.
Okay.
I can gather where med should be based on what you said, but you got any like tips additionally for
that? Same thing. Watch the skies for bombers because they love your ass. Just kind of you don't want to linger here and shut up for too long. What some medics do is when they're rolling out in particular, they'll roll out through ramp instead of coming through shutter because they don't want to take the risk. Personally,
Yeah.
I enjoy taking the risk because, well, not just I enjoy, but I think it works out better because, you know, if your sniper's covering this, your heavy shows up at mid at the same time, you can chip their sniper and like knock his aim around a little bit. So the risk is not huge. It's there, but it's not huge, and it's not that risk isn't worth giving up early heals and potentially baiting your demo and letting them aggress early. That's my take on it. You'll find other invite medics kind of disagree. If you guys have questions about that, you might choose to ask Rogue, who is one of the mentors here in the office. Invite winner last season, so, you know, drop a nat if you want, but that's about it. But yeah, you know, you might choose to roll out through ramp instead, but generally speaking, once you come out through shutter, just like don't linger here. Move immediately. Come and play over ramp.
So, as engineer, when you're gunslingering, when you're moving up to baths, would you just want to like wrangle your sentry and harass the enemy team from that hold while you're on baths?
So if you're putting a gun up on bats, it really depends on the specific placement. So obviously, if you're just saying bats in general, like back here, this is kind of a passive, like wait for them to push into you kind of position. You just want to hold bats and like control this. It stops them from aggressing across roof completely. If a soldier commits to the jump onto your bats, he's kind of fucked the moment he lands because he's got nowhere to hide from this mini and you can chase him down. But as far as actually contributing to the mid-fight goes, you either want to put it out here really wide on fans and have it wrangled from this position. This is really going to force their demo man to deal with you and start trying to focus your gun down. Or instead of coming through bats, like I mentioned, you just come through shutter and you just drop it down here. And this is quicker. Because you don't have to like, oh, I'm gonna come up the stairs and then around this corner and come double back. No, you're right there the moment you come out of the shutter, you know. Any more questions?
I like that jump.
It's totally impractical.
Is that sentry jump practical in any way? Or no?
I just answered your question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's totally impractical.
But what does
I don't know.
Super Epic Gamer?
I don't know how many of you guys are Uncle Dane fans. I don't really care, but like he does a lot of really impractical stuff. You shouldn't take what he does as gospel.
When does the Uber happen?
Yeah, put that teleporter in the upward last points place, the funny place.
I don't reckon till after mid fight.
The Uber happens whenever it does. I don't know what to tell you. There's that's a deep question.
I guess
Mid fights
just if
don't
the team's
generally
in
last that
danger.
long.
Yeah, like I said, I don't reckon it would happen until afterwards.
Generally, it doesn't, and then even if the mid fight does drag on that long, chances are one of the medics already died. So if you have to deal with an Uber during a mid fight, it's exactly what you expect. It's literally walk at them with the Uber, and then hope you don't fuck it up. So, I mean, there's more to an Uber than that, but you get my point. There's not really too much different as far as
Alrighty.
Ubers go here on this mid fight. All right, any more questions?
Yeah, so I was talking to Ink about this fight, and one thing he recommended was like Pyro just goes to ramp immediately and like jumps on top of it, and then on the roof that is, and then like try to just find that soldier, and then after that just kind of like shooting squirt shots at them or whatever from across. Do you think that's,
Yeah.
do you think
Well, like I
that's better than
said-
just spy checking? I don't know.
Okay, so that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is go full Arts Hispanian, or as he's now known, Johnny from Cali. But you can just go full Arts Hispanian and just run shotgun and start pretending you're like slightly slower scout and just go. That's something some pyros do. Figsy, Arts, those are big proponents of those. Billy Saurus would do something like what you're talking about, where he just sits back and peppers with Scorch Shot. And Inquisition is also on some Von Trier theories right now, so you know, don't take his word for it, but if he's your mentor, I guess you take his word for it. I mean, he's the guy who's training you, so but like that's all I'm just saying it's not like the pure only way to play this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Nymphomaniac was a good fucking film.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah. All right.
One more
Okay.
question before you continue. Sorry.
Aye,
So, it seems like for mid, the general kind of flank is under the point, right? What kind of classes are going to be hanging out there a lot, if any?
Don't think I mentioned anything about Under the Point. The thing about Under the Point is it's hit or miss. So I wouldn't talk about it in terms of strategy. I'd really talk about it in terms of opportunity. If you see that like there's no pressure on the side of the map and you can sneak past here and then make use of the space somehow without getting spammed up by the heavy in the demo, I mean, go for it. Under has its uses, but you'll generally notice in Ashville that there aren't many strategies that involve Under and like actively making use of it. It's really kind of a transitional stage or a rotation for players to
If
go through.
engineer set up their mini sentry there, wouldn't they catch them off guard?
Off guard is not a consistent strategy.
No, not off guard. Just like they would catch them, or just at least harass them if they take the actual spot itself.
The problem with that is it seems to me a lot like fighting over a position that doesn't really matter that much. See,
Yeah,
unlike on
alright.
Cascade, where the Under pops out directly onto their hold, so you need to keep an eye on it. Like, suppose it's Cascade. This is like the shield, right? And then you just have a heavy come out over here and he just decimates everything. So Under is actually a crucial aspect that you don't want to just give up to the enemy. You have to have some kind of control over. On Ashville, it pops up on the other side of the map from the hold, and they can spot it, they can spam it out. If the sniper's sitting on ramp, he can just like headshot you as you come out. The best thing you can do with it is take it to go behind them. And then at this point, you know, it really depends on what opportunities you're able to make. So there's nothing consistent about this. There's nothing that you can use to consistently make space with. So I would never really talk about Under as something that you use in terms of a pre-planned strategy. It's really something you have to look at the state of the match and make a judgment call over.
Does
'Cause it
Spy
has
ever
its
go
uses.
under, or is it too slow?
Yeah,
It's a common-
Bypass, right?
Honestly, it depends on the watch you're running because you don't want to come through Under with the cloak and dagger. Obviously, there's just too much ground to cover. But a medium pack, you can definitely make it through here and come out with a reasonable amount of cloak. So it's a pretty safe path to take. A lot of spies do take it. That said, a lot of spies also really just prefer crossing point because if you just hug a wall over here and then cross from this position, you can like decloak right in the bush and be Steve Irwin. So, you know, I'm not saying one's better than the other. Just it is what it is. Any more questions?
Yeah, could you be a little bit more detailed by what you mean by like, so like, how do we make the walking forward work like more consistently? I guess.
You do more damage than them on the mid fight, and then when they're pussying out or they're down more players than you because you rock and they suck, then they're just sitting back on ramp, just be like, okay, we hold W, gentlemen. Or even they just take more damage, they're sitting back healing, and they're just giving you the space. Literally just walk at them. There's not much to it. You just need to be really precise about your timing, and really heads up about paying attention to whether or not your demo's been dealing damage, whether or not you're healed up enough. It's really just the same as taking any general aggression. Because, you know, as long as they give you the space, and you can walk forward without being denied by a wrangled mini or something, it's as simple as that. The team that walks forward first, or gets to walk forward first, being a better way to phrase it, wins. So just, you know, walk forward and put some damage out. And pressure them out of ramp.
Okay, and then like demos tend to come to mid like really hurt from what I've seen. So like if their demo dies like immediately, you just have everyone in shutter, not even bother with ramp. At that point, you just go forward or what?
No, you can easily feed to sniper that way. Or at least you can in invite. You can feed to a sniper and a heavy that just arrived. They're fully buffed. They shred. They really punish really well. So, you know, you don't want to just bot immediately. The smarter thing to do when you have a demo advantage, like you have a demo and they don't, is to play spam, because they're not going to be able to spam you out very well. So you just keep suppressing them with pipes or stickies from across the point. You're guaranteed to hit more damage than they do. And once they're backing out because you are hitting more damage, then you take your push. Like basically, you know, it's just having a demo advantage is about being guaranteed the win in terms of a spam fight and a combo fight and trading damage. And you need to play that. You don't treat it like an instantly won fight, because all sorts of things can still go wrong. The soldier can bomb your medic during the push, and then you're baited as hell. So like it just means that you can guarantee your setup if you play it smart.
Okay, and then let's say your demo does die instantly. What's like, should you just start trying to get your med out, or?
No. Back off. Play around your sniper and your heavies. Exactly what I mentioned. Play around your sniper and your heavy. Play for pure punishment, because you're not going to be able to win that spam trade, because you don't have a spam anymore. So you're going to back off, sit around your sniper, make sure your sniper like lives, and then if your sniper can't get the kills he needs, because let's face it, sometimes he just can't, then you back off. But until then, you still have a fighting chance at it if they just walk into your sniper sight line and feed.
Okay. Would you ever recommend combo rolling out bats?
Not really, no. Some teams still try it. So here's how I see the bats roll out. It's a very, very passive position where you're trying to bait them into making a mistake, which I don't like on principle. I think it's kind of a poor way to approach map strategy. But you show up over here, you have high ground. You have all this nice high ground that looks great in theory, right? The problem is you can't actually commit, because the moment you drop down and you're trying to take the push, that high ground's just been converted into a really shitty position, because now you've just dropped down into this choke point. If you try to round this corner, they can spam you off. You have to back off, and now you have no spam angle. You can't spam them. They have all this. They have the roof that they can use as high ground on top of you, and then once they push across here and they force you back, this is even worse than it would be if you were backing up through ramp. So it's like, sure, you know, you get a nice solid position to hold and just sit back, but then it's difficult to convert that into an actual push from this position. So you're kind of banking on them just walking into you and feeding and making a mistake, instead of you actually putting out your own damage and aggression to start with.
Yeah, I agree. I was just saying your thoughts on it.
All right. Any more questions?
While playing aggressive as engineer on BAFs, how much of a concern is sniper? I don't think they go on their opposite BAFs that much, but you have said you go from shutters fairly well.
Sniper is always a concern. I'm not sure how to answer that question. Like, if you see the sniper, stay out of his sight line, don't feed.
Okay. It didn't seem self-explanatory in my head.
Right. Sometimes I'm just not sure, like, what you're trying to get at, you know, so.
It was probably just a
it's a sniper.
self-explanatory question that I didn't feel was self-explanatory, so I felt it was needed to be asked.
Right, but yeah, it's that simple. If you see a sniper, don't try too hard to challenge him, because it's a sniper. What do you want, you know? All right. I suppose a better answer would be to offer alternatives as to what you can do if you do see a sniper. Instead of like challenging him, you're like, oh, there's a sniper there and he's locking this down. That means you can't peek here. Instead of like trying to challenge him, maybe you just go around the long way, and then go drop down into under and try playing from this position. Because if you get down here, this is where we talk about under. Like, this is under, but this is a tactic, not a strategy. But if you get down here, you can kind of like heckle the sniper from this position. You can get a mini over here, and this is kind of one of the better uses of under. You can get over here and wrangle this, and this does kind of force them to really look at you and deal with you and put a lot more resources to you than they prefer. The problem with this is heavy commitment. This is a lot of commitment to do this as an engineer. So you're going to want to be careful about that. Otherwise, if you don't want to tangle with that sniper on bats, the safe thing to do is just rotate over to shutter. Do it the long way. Obviously, don't just drop down, but come over here through shutter, and then, yeah, just do this bullshit. Like, sit. Do this bullshit. All right. No more questions.
Sorry if you already went over this, but when you win the mid and you press the W good, do you chase them on ramps or do you go through shutter? Or is it a judgment call?
Judgment call.
All right.
The longer you wait on the chase, the more likely you should go through shutter, because then they're probably wrapping around here, heading to bats. If you're quick, then you chase them through ramp, because then, you know, you're actually in their face and you can fight them there. But yeah, that's really about it. Anything more than that, it's a judgment call. All right, any more questions? We should cut it off real soon because I want to get to holding this map. Going once. Going twice.
Sounds like we're good.
Alrighty. So, in virtually all scenarios, you're going to want your dispenser over here. So, not necessarily in the corner precisely. There's a few different spots that people kind of mess around with, but just generally on ramp. But this is kind of the most traditional, safest way to do it is just right in the corner, where it's least likely to get spammed over this hill as people are trading across this roof. Or you can put it over here too. This is another one that some people do. Or you can do it over here, which is weird in my opinion, but you know, people fucking do this. And then there's the one that newbies most often do, which is literally just right up against the wall. But apart from these, like I said, I would generally recommend you have it kind of off to the side over here. It's a good standard way to approach this. As far as minis go, oh wait, let's not talk about minis. So I was just talking about the dispenser because this is kind of common to all the holds no matter what. But so holds, you have basically 3 different ways to approach holding this map. Three fundamental ones. There's slight variations within, but we'll just talk about them as 3 branches. So we'll call them aggressive, which is on point. Standard, which would be kind of on roof or generally on ramp, but roof is kind of what you want to pay attention to. And then passive, which is really far back, and you're playing this to bait. And you need to know how to use the passive hold to, like, if you're sitting back here, look, you don't even see the point. So you really need to know what you're doing if you're trying to do this. But let's go through all of them in succession. So first of all, the important thing to note about Ashville is edging the cap on the offensive side is a viable strategy. And you generally don't want to give the attacking team more space than you absolutely need to. So this is why you'll notice that in higher level games, playing on point is actually now the most common way to play Ashville. They just sit their players over here and they just try to spam everything and lock everything down without letting the attacking team just take whatever they want. So I'm going to hop on demo real quick. Let's talk about the aggressive hold. It's really simple. You're going to want to put most of your players on point and just kind of spam them out. Your medic should be kind of around this corner over here, just kind of healing people from this position. Your heavy's going to be up against this crate. He's going to want to check and watch bats from this position. He's going to kind of do a semi-head glitch over here. Your demo's going to be generally on point. Most demos have stickies on shutter while they're doing this, so they can kind of lock this area down and control shutter while they're at it. But yeah, that's kind of it. And then your sniper's going to be on point. Your sniper's going to be guarded by the entirety of your combo while they sit here taking this fucking sight line right down here. And they get to look deep into bats. They can cross wider and then look further in on the wider side, the shallower side of bats over there. So there's like a nice long way to just exert pressure onto their bats and make sure they don't even get to peek and spam you. Meanwhile, your pyro's just going to be, you know, controlling this, kind of watching for spies and everything. What my pyro tends to do is he will sit on roof, kind of passively over here, so this way he can see bombers early. Meanwhile, he can just kind of also turn around and call spies as he needs to. He doesn't actually need to kind of like drop down and actually flame everything, as long as he's got a good enough buffer. Like if a spy decloaks in secret right there, for example, and the sniper's playing on point where that sticky is, that's enough time for a spy to call that, for a pyro that's sitting up here when he sees that decloak, to call that out and say, spies on a sniper, drop down, air blast him away. You know, you've got enough time. It's not perfect, but it's enough, and it's better. It's a better way to establish a bit more aggression on point. So these are the basics of playing the aggressive hold. It's literally just put everything on point and kind of forward and pressure their bats out as much as you can. Here's the linchpin of this aggressive hold. You need a soldier over here on the right roof, or just a soldier generally kind of controlling this right side in general, because the one thing that will absolutely snap this hold is if their attacking team brings a sniper out over here and the defending team doesn't do anything about him, because then he just sits here and takes free pot shots over here. So you do not want to let the sniper happen. This is why you keep a soldier up here. A lot of teams actually keep both a soldier and a scout over here, and they just chase out anyone that's trying to fight this position. Generally just a nice good way to approach this is just put as many people as you can out here, make sure the sniper doesn't get to come here with an escort and pick you guys off. So that's pretty much it. Flank over here on this right roof, everything else on point, and then a pyro up here on this roof to kind of nice and easy way to hold things off. So it's pretty short way to talk about it. Any questions about that aggressive hold? I feel like I kind of blurred through that.
For the dispenser placement, it seems kind of odd that you have a dispenser and a sentry if you're running baths. Is there like a dispenser placement for more of the bath sides? I don't know if majority of people actually hold there towards the entrance of bottom, but just
That's
I know
ass. Don't do it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on the subject. That's ass. Don't do it.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions?
Are level
earlier-
3s viable at all, or no?
Or what?
Level 3 sentries. Are
Oh,
they
reckon.
viable at all?
Back when Shutter Wrangler was possible, it was. Now it's not really.
Alrighty.
Yeah. More questions.
I believe you said Medic will be on Heavy's tank while he's on, like, he goes to the boxes watching fans. Does he stick on that Heavy?
Medic?
Yeah.
I mean, you're healing everyone. Your sniper needs buffs too. So, you just...
Yeah, I'm just saying he hangs out here.
Yeah, like generally here. You just want to kind of like sit over here. Don't take
Right.
the same spam your other players are doing. You can generally feel secure that your demo's controlling Shutter because, like I mentioned, it's his job to put stickies down here and try to fight that. And the one thing you do have to worry about is a spy that decloaks behind here and no one notices and just rounds the corner. You should check your own back. You should really, like, your pyro is not solely responsible for spy checking, despite what a lot of open players would have you believe. You are responsible for your own life too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. More questions?
So, like you said that Inquisition likes to play like passively on roof. What are some other possibilities for Pyro to play on in the aggressive hold?
We used to do pyros down on the corner, playing down here, just kind of more aggressively spot checking and ready to like make sure nothing happens to the sniper. Because like the linchpin for this hold really is the sniper. If your sniper goes down, you do not do this hold. I should have mentioned that earlier, but yeah, if your sniper's not here, you don't do this. End of story. So that's kind of what teams try to do, is they just sit on their sniper and keep them alive. Yeah, you get the idea.
Okay,
So
well,
if you
it's
have someone that's doing this hold, how do you get out of it, or are you going to talk about that later?
Talk about that later.
Okay.
Like we're covering holds first and then pushes later.
So like
More
if you lose right roof control, I'm guessing you also want to back up.
You don't really want to necessarily. I mean, that depends on whether or not they're actually doing something with the right once they get it, because most teams at least at my level of play, most teams understand that if you try too hard to bring your sniper out here and put him in this wide angle, it's actually kind of worse for you because first of all, the soldier and the scout that are sitting on this roof are expecting it, and they're just going to chase you out and out DM you. So most of the time you're just walking into a brick wall. And then supposing that, even supposing that you did bring him out here, a lot of teams can just duck back and do a different hold, or just literally walk at the sniper and kill him. So it's a matter of comms, it's a matter of info, and then it's a matter of also just, sometimes you can't fucking do it. But yeah, if you see a sniper over here, he manages to sit here. Essentially, if he managed to sit here long enough and just get too many shots in, that's when it's really a problem. Obviously, you don't want your medic dying, but if you see a sniper here, he's missed a shot, your demo should just come over here and pressure him out. It's not too much to it.
Hey, DWN, can you mute your mic?
All right, any more questions?
So would you do this hold like basically whenever you can?
Yes, if you have enough players, you've got all the key players you need, like your combo's alive, your sniper in particular is alive, this is always the best choice to do. Literally always. Because you just don't want to give the attacking team any space to work with. Alright. We good? Alright, let's
Yeah,
move
one
on.
second. Sorry. I actually have one. I'm not sure if you answered this already, but so you said like sniper's like the linchpin of this hold. So if sniper goes down, like what do you do? Do you just straight up leave, or
Yeah, you don't leave the point, but you give up this hold and you transfer to a different one. One of the other
what
two,
would
which
you
is
revert to? Just
depends on the situation. Did you lose more players than just your sniper? Did your flank die? You know, what's coming up next? You got to judge these things in the game. But like I will talk about the other two holds and what their strengths are, and you can kind of figure that out afterwards. But yeah, that's, you know, if your sniper's dead, you don't want to do this. That's pretty much it. But apart from that, whatever other hold you do is really something you have to figure out in the game.
Other than the sniper, what other classes dying would warrant retreating?
I don't know. Your medic, obviously, because you can't trade. But if it's just like any one of the other classes, like your demo dies, your heavy can still punish really well from this position. And supposing they try too hard to push right in, you can still just use on your heavy on point, and that's good enough, you know. Your pyro dies, sure. You just watch out for bombers a little bit and be more wary. You can still hold here, you know, kind of aggressively. Your heavy dies, like he gets sniped, your demo can take over this. Like you're going to be split a little more between Shutter and Bats, but your demo could still theoretically do this, playing from the heavy's position, locking this down. Like, this isn't critically terrible when your demo, your heavy, or your pyro dies. Just literally, if your sniper dies, then you can't, like, this is over. Your medic dies, you can't trade spam anymore, so you need to fuck off. That's really it.
If more than one person dies, would that warrant retreating? As long
If
as
more
it's
than
not
one
like
person
misfire or
dies,
something.
generally, if more than one person dies, that always warrants retreating on any hold.
Alright.
Like, give it up and play it a little more passively. So, yeah.
So I know you
Alright.
talked a lot about how the explosive classes, what all they're doing, and heavy and sniper. What's the scout usually doing during all this? I'm just curious.
I would recommend playing with your soldier on the right roof. Just a little extra backup, and then you can help him chase frags too if needed. Or you could be a Pablo and just run around the entire map and kill people because you're that good. But, you know, you tell me if you're that good.
I hope
Nah.
Pablo gets unbanned.
That ain't happening. He technically committed fraud, even by legal definition. So he's an okay dude. It's just it is what it is.
Tax
You don't
fraud.
get unbanned from that. All right.
So how would are Ubers going to be mentioned in this section, or is that going to be later?
Defensive Ubers are what they are. There's not too much to them. You always take them and you try to deny space either with your pyro or heavy. There's not too much to talk about in terms of map-specific stuff. So, you know, I recommend you... It's kind of a bigger topic. There's a lot of different things you can do with an Uber, but very few of them are map-specific. They're just, you know, you need to read the situation right.
Is there an Uber you can have when you have the hold and you push in where you would move into their building? Or would you try to hold the point?
It's called suicide. I mean,
Yeah,
sure,
there
you could theoretically do it, but then the problem is it's a huge gamble because then you've lost your safety net, and
Well, not,
it really
well,
relies on.
not like push in with just the Uber, but like pushing the whole team back to a point where they would have an availability to like hold the entrances of the building, like being up here where you are now.
No, I wouldn't recommend that. See, what some teams do is they walk up to the shutter and they hold from this position. They have their sniper lock this angle down, but that's hardly the same thing as actually going into the building and like trying to establish a new hold here. This is just a slightly more aggressive version of the point hold.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just, yeah, you know. There were some experiments some time ago with trying to hold on their bats. It's strong, but it's strong if your team is better than them. So it's really just a win more thing. Like a noticeably better, that is. We're talking run flog kind of win more. Bad idea in most circumstances, but you know, if you're winning, you're just going to keep winning. All right, I'm gonna stop it right here. We're gonna keep running out of time. I'm glad that people are actually asking a lot of questions though. So we're gonna move on to the next hold because we're gonna slowly lose time. Next hold, what I call the standard hold, is basically just putting people on roof and spamming down there. So this can apply. This generally, I would recommend putting your demo and your scout as a good, like, good baseline. So this is when your scout is not going to be playing on flank. Your scout's going to be playing up here with demo, because then your scout can kind of chip over here and dodge and duck and weave and kind of jump over here, take fights, jump down, and be like, oh, I'm just kidding, and then he goes back. And the scout's got a lot that he can do with that territory. But the general point is you're just going to sit on that roof, and you're going to try to spam them as they sit up on bats. Important thing to note as a demo man, especially, is you don't really want to overpeak that, because you can subject yourself to a sniper sightline and instantly get punished for it. So you can just like sit kind of back here without having your head peek, and just kind of spam from this position. So don't try too hard as a demo. Just sit back here and spam. Meanwhile, your heavy should be watching from bombers from this for bombers from this position. Make sure that they don't just jump in, because, you know, sure, you're on roof and you can try to deny, but it doesn't always work. Check for spies here in this corner. Your sniper should generally play barrels and try to lock down shutter, because it's one angle that the roof players aren't going to be able to lock down super easily. And then pyro. Some pyros like playing roof as well to back this up. Some pyros prefer playing down here, again, because they want to actually guarantee their sniper lives. Your mileage may vary, your choice on how you want to approach this. I can tell Despy, in particular, that Inquisition is fully on the roof theory in virtually every circumstance, so.
Oh man, you had 69 HP. It was nice.
It is what it is. Alright, but yeah, this is like pretty simple as far as a hold goes. It's literally, I'm going to try to keep spamming them, and then force them to, and then if they ever decide to drop down to crates to prepare for their push, this is a great position to just kind of walk up and punish people that are sitting back on fans, especially a sniper or an NG that's trying to keep a mini up there, and no one down there is going to be able to punish you if you're a demo man up here or something, because you're just sitting just behind them. You can just spam them off, and then if they're, you know, if they don't actually continue to lock this roof down while they're trying to take the push, sit up here and shoot them. And this is pretty nice and free. The problem with this is you can get punished on this hold if their demo's better, or he's just hitting more pipes or something. You can get forced off, and then once you drop down here, their demo's over on that bats. He's just going to hit spam over here, and you're going to have to kind of play this a little more passively and you know, prepare to eat the Uber. So this isn't a forever hold, and the problem with this is because you're not relying on a sniper that can just instantly punish people that try too hard, you actually do have a pretty modest risk of just getting forced off by damage or getting picked off by their sniper or anything. Basically, what I'm saying is the inability to use your sniper to just lock down an entire sightline like you would on the point hold is what makes this hold not really, like, incredible, like playing on point would be with your sniper. But it's still alright if you know how to play it. NGs in particular, I will say, you guys have options of also putting minis up on the roof over here, kind of just like closer to the back corner so it watches a bit more shutter and you can wrangle it over to ramp, or you can fuck off from your team. You can even just put it down here in barrels and try to lock down from this angle so it doesn't get spammed, or you can just go bats because, you know, you don't like your combo or something. You just play up there and you have your gun on fans. Having the gun on fans is actually pretty good thing in a lot of scenarios, because then once your combo's holding on ramp and then you're playing on bats, if they push out, you get a gun over here on fans, they have to choose. Do they want to focus the gun down here, or do they want to focus the combo down on ramp once they're taking that push? So this is actually a pretty nice way to do it if you can get over here. The problem is rotation time, and then once you're here, you know, you can't like keep your dispenser up or whatever, so you make the call. All right, any questions?
If you're dedicating your Wrangler towards ramps, I mean, no, towards baths, where would you have your dispenser?
On the dispenser's always going to be here.
Okay. Even if you're dedicating yourself to baths?
You should never take your dispenser away from your combo. It's not a matter of health, it is a matter of ammo. Your demo and your heavy are both going to be shooting things constantly, and if they don't have access to a dispenser, they are not going to be able to keep that up. So yeah, your dispenser does not belong to you.
Would you recommend Rescue Ranger if it's getting shipped constantly, or just like...
Let it die, because at least then it provides ammo on death.
Okay.
And then, you know, you're going to have to decide whether or not you want to come back and rebuild it, or stay there because you expect the fight's going to happen in literally the next 30 seconds.
Alright.
So yeah.
I don't think it's viable for sniper to go below, right? Is it not?
No. You have no sightlines from under.
No, I meant like from below and then come out the door with the boxes right there that you're looking at.
Oh. I mean, some snipers play from this position, but the thing about this is, you know, if they cotton onto this and they know you like doing this, they will literally just send a scout to sack at you 24/7.
I meant a blue sniper on the red side while red is defending. holding?
Oh, this? No, again, not really, because
Alright.
their flank can just hunt you down constantly.
Okay.
Unless your name is Denny and you hit god shots all the time. But, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
unless your
like-
name is Demento and you are literally just a spy main playing sniper and you like fully charge a body shot from out over here, slow peek, take one shot, drop the medic, and then you're like, okay, I got it, I'm out.
Sounds like
I was just about to ask that. I was like, is it too risky to go under and try to take a shot from the boxes?
I don't like it because I have a different view of sniper than Demento does, but then, like I said, Demento is literally a spy main playing sniper, so of course he's gonna do spy main things.
Aren't you a spy main playing demo?
Yes, but that doesn't mean I want to play sniper like a spy. It just means I want to play spy like a spy.
Please.
Any more questions? I'll take like one or two more.
So how do you decide, like, as a team, like, because every time I've joined, it's been a different amount of people on the roof. So how do you know, like, who should be on it? Because, like, yeah, Ink says, like, Pyro likes to be on the roof, but when, like, 3 or 4 people are on there, too, it feels like, I feel like kind of useless, I don't know, because I feel like I'm doing someone else's, like, it feels redundant, basically.
If you're taking damage and you can't dish it out in response because you're sitting up there and, you know, their demo's trying to trade spam and you're just eating the same shit your demo is, just fuck off. Like, you're not doing anything, so... Really just like you look at yourself and you have to tell yourself or decide for yourself, am I being useful up here? Yeah, it's not really even a team thing. You just need to ask yourself if you're useful.
Well,
And
it's
if the
not just
answer is no,
me,
go do
it's-
something else.
It's just like, oh, if we have, like, our scout, our NG, our demo, like, you know... it's like-
Your scout, then your scout is the best one to, like, he's the best one to determine whether or not he is being useful. But unless you don't trust your scout's judgment, you think he's too green, then, you know, then you tell him fuck off. But most of the time, the players themselves should know when to fuck off. One more question. How many of you have to leave for a 9:30 Friday scrim?
Me.
Yes.
I pity you. It's just not fun. All right. We have 5 minutes then. Fuck it. I'm going to cover one more thing, like just finally get over this passive hold. It's really simple, and then see if I can speed through the last thing. So passive hold is really fucking simple, and I would not recommend doing it unless you know what their team is going to do and you know how to use this passive hold, because again, you don't actually see the point, you don't actually cover shit. The main thing, the big purpose of this is you know that they're hyper aggressive. They're just going to want to walk directly across, or they're going to try to bomb you within the next, like they're going to try to send a sack wave immediately. If you know any of these two things are happening, like they're just trying to go right in right now, then you do the passive hold. You bring your players all back, every single player. You keep your demo and your heavy kind of back here. Your sniper's going to sit at the top of the ramp. He's going to hard scope this. Your power's going to play with your medic. Your medic's going to sit back here, heal people from this position. Your power's ready to deny bombers. Your heavy's ready to deny bombers. Your demo's going to sit kind of out here, kind of keeping an eye on things. And then you just wait for them to either sack into you and you just murder them all. Your pyro watches the back for the inevitable spy decloak afterwards. And then once you shredded the sack waves, you can go back into your standard position. Or you know that their team likes to ooga booga bot forward when they're trying to push. They're just going to walk directly across because they're like, oh, I bet they're all going to be right here. And when they don't see you, they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to try to keep taking the super push in. And then once they're out here, they use because they see 15 people here. And then they use and it's shit. And then you just kind of slowly walk back in and pressure them out. And this is like a successful bait them in kind of hold. The problem is both of these things, well, the first one's easier to read. If you know they're doing sack waves, like you know this team likes doing it, then it's easy to read. You can pull your players back temporarily, watch them just feed into you when you know that they're sacking. And once that happens, you go back in. The second thing, when expecting them to just ooga booga in with a push, is much harder to read, and you really need a lot of experience to know when that works. So I wouldn't recommend trying it unless you know the team you're playing against. And in Invite, this is basically never done anymore because teams have wisened up to this and they don't let themselves get baited. But there's still a possibility at your div, so you might consider trying this out. But apart from that, that is literally the passive hold. Quick, 1 or 2 questions. I want to move on to cover offense real quick, at least. Questions? Going once. Going twice. All right, that's it for holds. There isn't really too much else. Like I mentioned, I don't recommend ever holding over on the right side of the map. Do not ever do this. This is ass. You just get mulched. So let's move on to offense. First rule of all offenses: once you've lost point and once you've lost your players, fuck off of ramp. Go over to bats here. Rotate through here. You do not want to stay on ramp. It's not safe there once you've lost the point. They can just push into you and spam you out. So I'm just going to try to speed run this for the benefit of people who have to leave at 9:30. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about it in a bit more detail after the 930ers have to leave. So really basic. You just need to bring people out. Do not walk directly across out here, especially if they're putting people on point. If they have people on point, you need to bring your players wide out here. Put your demo out over on the wide side of bats. Spam them off point. Make sure they have to back off first. Put your sniper out here. Pressure them off of the point, and once they decide they have to fuck off because they're losing players or they're taking too much damage, that's when you have a bit more free space. Now, this next important part is literally just if they're actively fighting on point, they're sitting out on this this fence over here, you want to bring your sniper out over the shutter and just kind of lock them in. The basic rule of this point is you want to bring your players out to pressure them back into their ramp into a more passive position where they don't see anything. And then once they don't see anything, you bring out all your players and you start taking your push. Whether you want to use an Uber in directly or you want to just kind of edge from the corner is up to you. That is the super TLDR version of the push. So the takeaway, big important takeaway, do not bot forward. Do not just bot forward and try to take the push. Take steps slowly, one step at a time. Secure, push them off point. If they're not on point, push them off the corner. If they're not in the corner, then start taking your push. All right. That's the super big takeaway. If you guys need to leave for 9:30 right now, you're welcome to.